Mail merge documents will waste printer ink. So I worked in an office where we had a one-page form needed for all clients that was attached to their vehicle for repair. 70% of the info was the same for these forms, but we were filling them in by hand. It took ages. My hand would cramp and it was dull and stopped us from doing other tasks. I suggested that we could set the computer up. I would set it up and show the others, to print at the very least the info that was the same for every form. I even explained that we could have the forms printed from an Excel sheet with all the specific info. The office manager's response was that it would waste printer ink. This is in Australia for context, where everyone was on at least $20 an hour. So I did as instructed until my last day, using a lot of pens ironically. On my last day, when we had the jobs for the day, I spent 20 minutes creating the spreadsheet and had it print out the entire normal morning's workload for 3 of us in under 30 minutes. Printed the whole lot, dumped them on the manager's desk and went to morning tea, stayed through lunch, walked back after lunch, gathered my things and left. TLDR, 9 hours of daily labor should have been 30 minutes, but using printer ink is expensive.
Now to the comments. Back in my day we chiseled the forms on stone tablets.
Lucky you. We scraped our info into those stone tablets with our fingernails.
That is sad. At least I had the handheld model where we scraped our info into our fingernails with stones. I think waste printer ink is probably how dinosaurs make. We've done it this way forever and I won't listen to any suggestions about changing it. Sound like a reasonable argument.
Some people, not only old ones, just don't question or are curious about things. When I started at my current employer 10 years ago, the person who I was taking over for toured me through the building, opening every cabinet, room, space, etc., telling me what was in them. They would periodically skip a cabinet, and every time I asked about those they said, "I don't know what that is, it was there when I started." Then as I started doing the job, we had a 2-week crossover. I was seeing a lot of really inefficient and downright stupid processes, and again, when I asked about what I was seeing, their answer was the same. "That's the way it's always been done while I've been here." She had worked there for a decade and hadn't changed anything in that decade because nobody told her to, and she wasn't curious or apparently aware of something called change. She was in her mid-30s. If you think it was the boss, it was not. I started implementing change immediately where the boss didn't push back at all.
At least you got the tour. Sounds like her predecessor didn't do the same. I hope you deleted the spreadsheet when you were done, too.
Even spending 50 minutes, 20 for creating the spreadsheet plus 30 for printing, every day would have saved a lot of time.
The paid $540 a day in wages to save, what, $5 in printer toner? Dang.
Even better is that usually they rent them on monthly basis, so it really doesn't matter.
We talking about the employees or the printers here? I was at a mortgage company where they offered 450 mortgage products, but in reality, only ever sold 19 and regularly 7. They would waste 1 ream of paper, 489 out of 500 sheets, per station to print this every single day. I made an intranet page that would allow you to look up all this info from the database real time, while looking exactly like the old paper sheets, and even allowed sort options including most popular, loan type, states allowed, etc. Meaning that if you were smart at all, you could find the proper loan while on the phone with the customer in seconds. I also allowed it to be printed to look almost exactly like the old sheets. I got so many complaints that the world would end, hence the printing option. I was ruining their system. But within a month, only 2 stations were still printing the whole thing every day, and within another month, 1. Then that lady, who had been there for decades, was laid off for reasons, but mostly because she refused to get with the program and thought that she was more important than she was. I saved the company $100,000 a year in printing costs.
Did you get a $100,000 bonus?
Yeah, right. I have my previous company's annual IT costs. I got reduced hours to the point where I had a gutful and left. I want you to work 15 hours a week. Spread across all 5 days. Yeah, nah. I'm in a temp gig that's ending next week, and am training my replacement, meaning someone who was moved from another facility because the company won't pay for a temp anymore, and evidently my contract with the staffing agency is too expensive to just buy out. She's a perfectly nice lady. But she would rather sit and handwrite 100 envelopes a day rather than learn how to mail merge, which I only did for the first time my first week here, and then have the very fancy printer we have print out those envelopes very nicely. In fact, everything I've tried to teach her so far has been responded with, "Oh, I'll just do that by hand." I'm now beginning to understand how as my boss, who is very upset to be losing me, puts 5 times faster than all the other support staff.
And that will save them money because? Man, some companies are just ridiculous.
Yeah, several of us are pretty peeved about it. I am so sorry. As you know, mail merge is your friend. I had to do about 100 letters one day. We knew we'd have to do that, but didn't know exactly when, and when we got the word they had to be done quickly. So I pre-populated everything I knew in the Excel file. When I got the last bit, I put that in, hit the button, and away we went. And when we were told, "Oops. No, change this piece of info to this piece of info," it still was easier than back in the old days when I'd have had to retype every freaking letter.
I used Mail Merge for the first time yesterday to send a batch of emails that'd normally take me 1 to 2 hours. It is awesome.
My wife works for a local council, and she asked for a PC. She had to justify why she needed a PC. Working in an office. She somehow convinced them it was a good idea, TM, and started to revolutionize the workflow, from spreadsheets instead of double entry bookkeeping. They were still using double entry in the 90s to 2000s, to simple stuff like clean copies of a form they only had a really bad photocopy of, but had to use all the time. Problems getting details from various departments were solved when she sent each department a personalized form with the correct info already in place for that department so it could be processed easily. So many simple logical steps to make life easier all round. Sometimes, it's not about the cost but which department will have to pay it.
That and a lot of managers don't understand that labor equals money. They think that, since you are already there, it is free to have you do things the hard way. They don't take the next step and realize that without pointless manual tasks they could assign people to something more productive that actually makes money, or employ fewer people.
I saw these insecurity, 0 hours contracts, so the thought process went, "Manager, you're just a uniform filler and cost nothing for this company." 28 days later, why are all these uniforms unfilled? I was a lazy supervisor, then a lazy operations manager, so I showed the people following me how to be lazy. Our sites ran so smoothly, no drama, and production staff would visibly show their relief to our directors when they heard me and my team were going to be on their site. The directors would ask for more money if they specifically asked for us and started to try it, but the production would know my cycle of work through the event season / so would be relaxed usually. Carrot, / especially as we swapped numbers before the season started. During a round of redundancies a whole department went and the tasks got absorbed into ours. The processes and procedures were so ridiculous and time-consuming we immediately changed pretty much everything to streamline. I think they kept them to justify it being a 2-person department when now it's a half-day job each day for 1 person. A decent portion of my job used to be teaching office productivity software, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, project, and Visio, back in the 1990s. I can't tell you how often I had to explain to people and force/convince them to automate processes. Yes, you can fill out that single form in 2 minutes, and, yes, it will take you 15 minutes to set it up for automation, but then printing second takes 3 as does the third and the fourth, etc. People are terrified of change. Even after proving that we could save hours a week automating tasks, they would go back to the old ways in a week or two. It's like one of those restaurant makeover shows. Place is going under and Gordon Ramsay or someone comes in and completely redos the menu and gets rid of the microwave, and 6 months later they are reheating entrees and closed down for good. People don't like to change.
I once got written up for automating a process that saved the equivalent of 1 FTE a month in labor cost. I was written up because I did it without getting a project planned and approved before executing.
They wanted to be able to pitch your idea and claim the cost savings as they're doing because they are your supervisor. Then they get the pat on the back / maybe a bonus instead of you.